So, in the first episode, we did get off to a bit of a difficult start with the ferry to Norway not going because of bad weather. But the second day was absolutely beautiful with just perfect weather, going over snowy mountaintops in freezing temperatures through some of Norway's beautiful fjords with absolutely breathtaking scenery. But the weather had turned around for the worse, and we had to keep an eye on Norwegian's website 175.no, where you can see if any roads or ferry crossings are closing, and there are even webcams that can show you live what the roads look like in these areas. And the roads were starting to close up through Norway.
Second day, and we have to go all the way up to Trondheim. There's a lot of roads that have been closed off, so we have to navigate through the different roads that's been closed off because of snow and so on. But we'll see how it goes.
But since the place we stayed at last night did not have any charging available at the location, we started by going up to the supercharger in this town just to get enough juice so we could get to the first superchargers with a little extra in the tank, just in case we should run into trouble along the way, like traffic jams, going over the snowy mountains, or just delays. But after a quick fill, we took off, and the first part was very easy because that was straight into a tunnel. So no weather could interfere with the first 24.5 kilometers of our journey. Yes, you heard right, 24.5 kilometers. Because this was not just any old tunnel. This was the tunnel, the longest tunnel in the world. Yes, Norway has a lot of tunnels. They have more than 1,800 tunnels in Norway that combined is more than 1,000 kilometers of tunnel. And some of them are so big they even have roundabouts inside the tunnels. That's just mad. But because this tunnel was so long, the temperature rose from outside freezing temperatures all the way up to 18 degrees Celsius in the middle of the tunnel. Because here we were just too far away from the entrance and too deep under the mountains for the weather to really play any role here. But the temperature did drop again as we came out on the other side, and then we took a little ferry to get over the biggest fjord in Norway, and the many ferries helping people to get over these many fjords are all owned by the government and free to use. So that was pretty cool. But out of the tunnel and out of the safety from the harsh weather, we were back on the snowy mountain roads, in the dark, waiting for the sun to come up. But navigating these mountain roads in my Tesla was very easy. We of course had to keep an eye on the roads that would be closing, but other than that, the navigation system in the Tesla is just awesome. And a new waypoint the navigation system has just got with an over-the-air update was just working so well. Thank you, Elon, for bringing waypoints.
Okay, does everybody here want waypoints? Okay, fine, we'll do waypoints. God damn it.
So we could basically plan the whole day's trip, including stops along the way, through the Tesla navigation system in one go. And if we find some new point of interest along the way, we could always just add it to the route, and we could edit the route as well, all just very easy. So the car would always know where we were going and tell us if it was possible what we were about to do. And the car would just control the preheat of the battery for the charging station we had planned, so it could take in maximum charge when we came to the charging station, even in freezing temperatures. The battery was ready and able to take in the 250 kilowatt in cold weather. No problem.
So, first stop of today with a lot of 150 kilowatt charges here in the middle of the mountains, in the middle of Norway. And also a couple of new ones over here, 4 new 250 kilowatt chargers. So this is the first stop, and it feels so weird driving in the middle of the mountains. It feels like you are just in the middle of nowhere, and there's just Tesla superchargers all the time. Makes it very simple. But it is snowing, and there is a lot of snow on the roads, so we have to drive really careful. And we'll see how the weather comes today. We cannot see the top of the mountains. So hopefully we can get a little more clear blue sky later on, because we go into some glacier lakes later on here, so that's where we're trying to get to.
So after a free 250 kilowatt charging at a Tesla supercharger, because I still got a lot of free supercharging miles from referral program, we drove out of this town and was just reminded of yet another thing I don't miss about the ice car as we drove past the gas station, and gasoline was 19 Norwegian crowns for 1 liter. That's about $2.16 for a liter. So for you Americans, that would be about $8.64 per gallon. I do believe the US average price per gallon is $3.4, and you think your gas prices are getting high. Yeah, just wait until you catch up with the rest of the world. Yes, it's no fun filling up an ice car anymore, getting very expensive. And it just feels so good knowing that I'm driving around in this beautiful landscape, not polluting the air around me. My car emits no toxic gas, make no sound, and here in Norway I just fill up the Tesla with electricity made from about 98% renewable energy. That makes it feel even better. And 69% of those renewable come from hydropower. Yes, Norway is very big on hydropower. But we didn't actually need to stop here, but we were going over a little mountain pass to get to 2 glacial lakes we wanted to go to, and we had seen on the 175.Norway that the road was covered in snow, so we wanted to make sure we had more than enough juice in the battery if we should get stuck somewhere or have other problems. And it was a very little remote mountain road, very beautiful to drive through, even though it was cloudy with all this snow all around, and the Tesla handled great in the snow with its all-wheel drive. My brother-in-law was very impressed by how well the Tesla handled and stuck to the road even in these conditions. But he got a little overconfident with the Tesla and said, I'm going to push it a little bit in the next corner to see what it can handle, and that just happened to be maybe the steepest part of the road in probably the most sharp turn on the mountain, and my brother-in-law came in a little too fast and the car skid off the road. Luckily, there was a big pile of snow in the corner we just bumped into, so no harm to the car and no harm to us, but the flat bottom of the car just skated right on top of that snow dune, so none of the 4 wheels were touching the ground anymore. Yep, we were stuck. Luckily, some local guys came along and could put a rope around my tow hitch and pull us out. And we continued down the mountain, but at a little slower pace. We eventually got over and down the mountain in one piece, and we're getting closer to the 2 big canyons with the glacial lakes. But as you can see, the weather did not really improve that much. Quite the opposite. We started to get this big, heavy snow falling, and it felt more like driving in the clouds. It did not clear up for us to really get to see the beauty of this place, where you could find Norway's longest waterfall if the road was open to get all the way into the bottom of the canyon. But it was not, so we were not really able to capture this beautiful place, so we pushed onwards to the next town to get a charge for the car and get some lunch for us. And after our little lunch break, we pushed onwards through the mountains with a lot of snow on the roads to get up to probably Norway's most famous fjord, Geiranger Fjord. This is where the most tourists come to see the fjords, because here we see this beautiful steep mountain just dropping straight down into the fjord. And even though the weather was not with us, there was no denying the beauty of this place. But we pushed on and took the ferry over the big fjord to the other side, where the temperature suddenly got to a couple of degrees over the freezing point, and the snow turned into rain. Yeah, this did not make the driving experience any better. And we had hoped for a little better weather when we came up to Ådalsnes, so we could go up to the famous lookout of Rampenstræken. But when we came to Rampenstræken, we just had heavy rain, very cloudy, and it was starting to get dark, so we did not go up to the lookout, but just stopped in town for a little charge.
So, the last charge of the day, hopefully. It has been this kind of weather all day, so it has been quite the tough ride. When we were up in the mountain, going over mountain paths, there was of course snowing, and that was kind of crazy as well. Had a little bit of an incident, but yeah, it has been tough because we haven't made a lot of stops today because it's just been snowy, foggy, not too great weather, so we couldn't see all the mountains just like you can see here and over there. Yeah, not too great weather today, but yeah, this is the last stop before we get to Trondheim, where we're gonna sleep tonight, and then we're going above the Arctic Circle tomorrow.
After that charge, the sun has gone down and we just wanted to get up to Trondheim. But the temperature dropped again as we drove away from the coast to go a bit inland in through the mountains and turn north again towards Trondheim. And the rain turned into snow again and the road was filling up with snow. So some really tough driving conditions. We did also see some trucks along the way that got in a bit of trouble on these tricky roads. And we even got to race the local train through the mountains. But we did make one last stop before Trondheim to get something to eat. And when we had to stop anyway, it might as well be at a Tesla supercharger. So we had plenty of chance when we would arrive in Trondheim. But after a very long day of driving, we finally arrived at our hotel 10 p.m. after 16 hours on the road.
So we're finally here at the hotel in Trondheim. We have been on the road for 16 hours today. Yeah, it's not been much fun either. We've been over the mountaintops where there was only snow, but it was also snowing, so it was actually really tough driving today. And then when we came down in the valleys, it was raining, so it's been really shitty weather today. There wasn't many stops for taking pictures, making movies, because the weather was just too bad. Now we finally arrived here in Trondheim, and check this out. What a crazy lobby is that? Check this out. Crazy. But tomorrow, we're gonna go above the Arctic Circle. I'm gonna sleep in the car tomorrow above the Arctic Circle. And we're gonna go through hell. Literally. Wait and see. But now, I am going into my hotel room to crash because we went up early, start driving at 6 o'clock in the morning. And now it's 10:15. We are pushing this car to its limits because we can't take it anymore. We're pushing the car to our limits. The car is holding up good. Oh, all right. See you tomorrow.
So the next morning we got up early because we had yet another long drive ahead of us. And today we would try to get above the Arctic Circle. But first, we had to go through hell. Yep, not stopping here, just passing through. But it all started off pretty good. Still a bit cloudy, but no rain or heavy snow, so pretty good driving conditions. The road was covered in snow, but it was no problem for the tester to drive in, so we just enjoyed this beautiful snowy landscape and even saw some reindeers just next to the road. And because we were driving in this silent electric car, they didn't really care too much about us stopping just next to them and taking a few pictures. But we continued up to the next Tesla supercharger to have a little lunch break.
So, third day, first big push. Light is coming. We're not gonna have much light left when we go above the Arctic Circle, but here we are at 250 kilowatt superchargers. So that's nice, just having lunch. And as you can see, have a lot of good stuff with us from home. But why? Can't you buy stuff in Norway? Of course you can. They have everything in Norway. But it is expensive as hell in Norway. So we have filled up the trunk with food from home, much cheaper. And now we're just having lunch on the supercharge. And then we continuing and hopefully getting to the Arctic Circle in some hours, because the roads look like this, white. And we have -3 degrees, so it's not that cold. The worst thing is it's raining. Right now it's a little bit hail, kind of, but it has been raining a lot. So that's just becomes ice on the windscreen straight away, and we have to go out and hammer ice off the windscreen wipers every 30 minutes to could see anything. So it's not the best driving condition. Hopefully the weather clears up and we can don't have to have ice forming all over the car as we go. So, but a quick stop here at a 250 supercharger and onwards to the Arctic Circle. Let's go!
And thanks to the preheating of the battery, there was never any slowdown of the charging speeds because of cold weather. Here we were at 26% charge in -3 degrees Celsius, and is still charged with almost 200 kilowatts, so very good. But after a quick lunch, we headed back on the road with a full charge. That would give us about 330 kilometers of real-world range here in the cold mountains. So actually not too bad. In summer, when me and my family took the Tesla on a road trip around Europe for 3 weeks, we got about 400 kilometers of real-world range with mixed driving on a full charge. So even here in the mountains on rough roads in freezing temperatures being pushed for 16 hours a day, it only dropped about 20% in range. And remember, this is the old Tesla Model 3 long range that does not have the new heat pump or the Octo-valve or all that fancy stuff, and after 110,000 kilometers, the battery's only down 5% from its original capacity, and have even seemed to level off over the last 30 to 40,000 kilometers. So this is as bad as it gets for a Tesla Model 3 long range. So very impressed with how well this car is handling this abuse. It just doesn't seem to care. It only drops 20% in range, and that's it. And with all the charges that are up here in Norway, it is child's play getting to the north when it comes to charging anyway. There are a lot more chargers than we are using. Range anxiety does really not exist here in Norway or most other places in Europe in general, especially in a Tesla with their great charging network on top of everything and the car just knowing where all the chargers are. But some still don't get it though. When we get a lot more EVs on the road, you can't just build one charger and call that a station. So even though this is way far north and not that many people are living up here, but even the smallest Tesla stations has at least 650 kilowatt stalls. Just putting up one stall is simply not gonna cut it. But we did stop here for another charge, only about 160 kilometers from the Arctic Circle. And as we tried to do every time we stopped for a charge where we were not eating, we were going for a walk just to get the body moving a bit, because it's really tough sitting for about 16 hours a day. So we would try to get as much walking in as possible when we had to charge anyway. But this was the last stop before this started to get a little too exciting. It started to rain again. But this time it was not only the car that got covered, the road became pure ice to drive on. So we tried to drive as close as we could to the side where there was still a little bit of snow left to get a little bit of traction. But this became really scary really fast. We did come to a truck that could not get up this little climb here and was putting on some snow chains to get up this road. And just this little pass we had to do with only 30 kilometers an hour was very scary. We could just feel the car wobbling underneath and had to keep every correction small and slow so the car would not spin out. But we still had some way to go, so we just had to push through, and finally the rain stopped, but turned into pretty heavy snow, and this road was hardly visible anymore with all the snow, so it was hard to see what was road and what was not. So very glad that here in Norway they put up these tall sticks in the side of the road so you can see where the road is. But with the snow and the darkness we couldn't see much. So when a moose suddenly stood in the middle of the road, we got quite the scare. I totally forgot that the car is actually recording all the time and I just had to push a button to save it, but I forgot that in the very scary situation with the moose, so unfortunately I do not have that one on camera. But this stretch of roads was not really fun, but very scary. And when we finally came to the last Tesla charging station just before our final destination, the car was clear proof of the crazy weather we have just been through. The whole car was just covered in a thick layer of ice. But we never felt unsafe in the car. When we're driving on these scary roads, it did help knowing that we were driving in the safest car in the world. And it didn't care. It just plowed through, didn't even blink, and we knew it would get us there, get us to the next supercharging station within a couple of percentage of the charge it said it would have. And we could always count on the Tesla chargers working. Even here in the middle of nowhere, above the Arctic Circle, every Tesla supercharger was just working, and they were just our little safe haven. So here we grabbed a little bite to eat before we took the last drive to our final destination in Junkedal. And now tunnels were no longer in the way. In the beginning of the trip, every tunnel we went through was like, oh, now we can't see the beautiful scenery. Now it was just heaven. Every time we got to a tunnel, there was no snow on the road, no ice falling on the car, just always good driving condition. But we did turn up the last little mountain road to get to our little cabin in the middle of nowhere.
We made it! That was tough driving. 8 o'clock at night, we have finally arrived. Whew, that was some tough driving. It's not cold here. I'm getting a little hard to see here, but anyway, it's not really cold. It's like plus 4 degrees Celsius. So, yeah, down here you can see the water dripping down from the roof. It's not cold here. So I actually planned to, it was in this place that I would sleep in the car, but it's this is not cold. Well, 2 days ago they had like minus 20 degrees Celsius, so that was pretty cold. Today we have plus 4, and that has made it a hell to drive today. But that was a little bit too exciting of a drive today, also because we met a moose. We met a moose in the middle of the freaking road. Damn, it's dangerous driving up here. We're pushing it to the limit in every sense of the word. So yeah, another 14 hours on the road today. But now we're gonna stay in this wonderful little cabin here, and we have sled dogs over there. Yeah, this is an awesome place, but unfortunately we don't have the time to do anything with the dog sled tomorrow. We just need to get back on the road, pushing the Tesla some more. But yeah, this was a close encounter. Really scary drive for the last 60 kilometers. What a day, what a day. Now we're gonna kick back, drink a cold beer, and enjoy that, relax, go early to bed, but sleep in the cabin, not the car. And hopefully tomorrow it's going to be better driving weather than this crazy day.
But what I didn't know was that there was a storm coming, and we had to flee into Sweden over the mountain pass. But that was easier said than done, because during the night all that water and rain did freeze over, so the road became pure hard ice, no traction whatsoever. So just getting out of Ljungedal became quite the challenge. And then we had the mountain to worry about with the storm on our tail. So stay tuned for the last episode of this extreme road trip, where we do also find some nice cold weather again.
Too many days in the darkness without a glimpse of the light. Running tired and broken and scared, but I swear I'll never give up the fight. I see you broken and beat, head pulled down over your eyes. Every part of you wants to surrender, but darling, you were meant to surrender.